kind of interested in
Mhm.
outside of the office?
So, I've I've given some thought about it. I feel like I've really fell into, um, and like I mentioned, I've been able to marry my passion for payroll with my love of sports. At
Hmm.
this point in time, if I were to ever re retire, if you wanna call it that, I know
Hmm.
that I would still be very involved with, um, PAO just because they've given me so much, and as
Hmm.
well as the fact that I've gained so many friends, from that
Yeah.
involvement with that organization, um, that I can't see myself really ever truly stepping away from it. Um, it's it is what fortunately or unfortunately, payroll is my hobby between my volunteer work with PAO and just being in the payroll community, knowing that people's reach out to me to ask questions and help guide them through their career path as well. And so I don't foresee me ever losing touch with payroll.
First of all, I think if you've got a hobby that pays you, you've got it made.
Yeah,
So, I
yeah,
think I
I
think that that is really a great statement that you made. And it sounds, I mean, it's so funny, Jody. I mean, I'm sure you see it too. I think people sometimes when they get a little bit older, if they're not happy in their job, they just want out. They just want, to start doing something else. And then there are others who I think, you know, certainly you sound like one of them who it's kind of you might change maybe the amount of time or maybe be a little more selective or something, but I think it's great that you've got this passion that you just want to keep on doing it, and I think that's awesome. So thanks for answering.
yeah.
Thing about your role, Jody, that I've always liked learning about from you, and because of my interest in sports and just general, is managing the payroll for a sports league. And Brian kind of touched on this. You've got not just the Royals, you've got all of the double A, single A, triple A teams that are spread throughout the United States, different states. And then you were telling me one day you've got when the players are playing at really any level, but I know at the top level, the taxes associated with where the taxes need to be paid or where they're playing. So
Hmm.
you're doing multi-state for every single player.
Hmm.
How did you get through learning that? Tell us a little bit about that because that's got to be extremely
Hmm.
overwhelming.
So the good and the bad of it is when I joined the organization, first of all, my predecessor was with the organization for 35 years. And I was lucky enough that he was retiring, but he stayed on with me for almost the entire year before he truly retired from the organization. So I had a wealth of knowledge that was showing me how they had done the payroll process throughout the years. In addition, our payroll system at the time could not handle the complexity of figuring out this player was in Kansas City for 5 days, and this is how much pay was associated with Kansas City. They were in Minneapolis for 3 days. This is how much money was earned there. They were in Texas, those types of things. It was all done on a ginormous spreadsheet with tons of formulas. So I really learned just because of having to do that manually, I really learned what it took to calculate and how it was all calculated. Um, in addition, or even though teams are competitors on the field, the office personnel are tightly knit. So MLB has functional meetings every year for the different functions within an organization. So, I went to the payroll offering through MLB, made friends, made sure that I made those connections so that I had someone to lean on to ask questions throughout my career. And um, then more recently, we actually went through a conversion. We went live for everything paid in 2025. And because I had done all that work so long manually, and I had had experiences in other types of industries, I was able to visualize how I wanted the system set up, not only to work for us as the Royals, but for other baseball teams that may convert to the system behind me so that it would work for me, but it wasn't so locked in that someone couldn't come in behind me and have some of their own nuances as well and make it work for them. Um, so, I mean, it's just been one of those you you live and you learn type thing, and I
Mhm.
am particularly with sports, that's the way you're going to learn it. Now, that being said, it's not a lot different than if I were to go work for a Walmart or a Coke or Target or some other organization that's multi-state. It's just that my employees that are subject to multi-jurisdictional taxes just move a lot more frequently than those other groups, and identifying a way to track them. So during the baseball season, I spend a lot of time watching baseball, whether it be taking the 500 steps and sitting in a seat here at the stadium, or it's going home and putting it on the TV and watching it. Just so I know who's where, because there's been time that I've seen somebody in the dugout that I'm like, wait, he's not supposed to be there.
So question in that regard is, what is the most challenging venue for you to do the payroll for when they go to a particular city?
So in the past, it's probably been Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Um, you say Pennsylvania, and you already know why.
My home
Pittsburgh,
city.
yeah,
So
and Pittsburgh in the past had a very specific tax related to sports and entertainment industries that went there. Um, there was some litigation, so that's been reversed now. So it's more like doing Philly and Pittsburgh will be similar to one another. But again, it's just, that's probably the most complicated just because of so many locals. But we play in Ohio, so Ohio has their locals, those types of things. It's just getting familiar with the nuances in each of those jurisdictions. So for example, my minor leaguers, even by letter of the law, they should be being taxed when they travel, but we don't. Because most of them make the same amount of money. So it's kind of this unwritten kind of agreement that since my 26 players for Omaha roughly are going to make the same as 26 players on the Columbus Clippers roster, and that was about example because Columbus charges. So let's go with our Omaha affiliate plays Iowa. So when they move back and forth, basically they have the same taxable wages. So through that, there's not a need. Now, however, when we do go to Columbus or certain other um, states that their locals do want their piece of the pie, we do tax them. So when our AAA club goes to Columbus and Toledo, we tax them there, but all their other travel, it stays in Omaha.
Okay.
So Bill, do you remember your first job growing up in Ohio? Or you grew up in Connecticut, sorry. When did you move to Ohio?
I was a junior. I was in ninth grade.
Oh, so you do remember probably getting that first part-time job and asking probably your parents, why am I paying the next door borough? Why am I paying this?
Mhm.
Why am I paying?
Yeah,
I remember being in Allegheny County and
Yeah.
I worked in two different boroughs.
Yeah.
Then the schools, then the, interesting
Each-
stuff.
each of my kids, when they've come home from their jobs, the very first time, they're like, where is all of it? It's like, I make X amount, I calculated it to be this. And it's like, this is going to be a challenge you'll probably have the rest of your life to just, kind of accept the inevitable. But yeah, so I've had to walk them through what everything means, from Social Security, and why do I have to pay Social Security? I'm only